Hi, it's Alex Kienlen, and this is Make It Make Sense. We have some guests here today with us about a topic. Here, let me introduce you to Kevin Kelly. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And we're doing a story today. You had covered AI and child sexual abuse material.
Yeah, this was kind of a fascinating story that really took me by surprise, especially when you dive deeper into this topic. I mean, for me, the story came to light after 33-year-old Ethan Fagan came to light. This was an individual who lived in Amity, Arkansas, and it was my understanding that earlier in the year, state police got a tip about a possible suspect who had been distributing or had been in possession of some child sexual abuse material. And they did a fantastic job, did their research, and they arrested this guy. And the story came to light. He went to court, and he was sentenced to 90 years in prison. And that was just a startling, first-of-its-kind type of case, which prompted me to look into this a little bit further and to determine just how significant of a problem AI-generated sexual material is. And that's what led me down to some startling numbers where I did my own research and was digging deeper and went to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to find out that in 2024, there were roughly 67,000 reports of AI-generated photos and videos. Okay, that's a pretty significant number, but when you look at 2025, that number skyrocketed to 485,000. That's more than a 600% increase. So that got me thinking, well, if that's what it looks like on a national scale, what does it look like here in the state of Arkansas? So I reached out to state police, and they told me that they were seeing a significant increase as well. And that's pretty much what launched the story, was just this 33-year-old Ethan Fagan, who had been arrested, and then it just kind of exploded into a much bigger story.
Well, speaking of state police, let me introduce our other guest. We also have joining us Sergeant Corwin Battle. Sergeant, hello.
Yeah, hello, how are you?
And Sergeant, I put Arkansas State Police in your title on the screen there, but you're actually the Task Force Commander for Arkansas Internet Crimes Against Children.
Yes, so I'm the task force commander for the state of Arkansas for internet crimes against children. There's 60 other ICAC task forces across the United States, and we're all funded by the U.S. Department of Justice.
All right, well, let's dig in here because Kevin was just giving us some numbers here about how serious an issue this is, or how serious an issue this is becoming. What insight do you have on that? I know you said something about just a workload on your department right now for dealing with these manufactured images.
Yes, so last year alone, I've got some stats I wrote down. We had 6,800 cyber tips last year. This year, we're at 9,800 cyber tips for year to date, and we still have roughly a month and a couple of weeks to go.
That's gone up since the last time
I was
going
to say, when did your story come out, Kevin?
It was just about a month ago.
Yes,
right.
About a month ago.
And a month ago, you had 8,600.
8,600.
Yeah.
Yes. So we received roughly around 1,000 cyber tips from like 2 different providers. They dumped a lot of them on us in a short amount of time. So of course we have to kind of triage those and try to figure out where they go to, what kind of content they have, and try to act on the ones that are high priority first, of course.
Sure. And before we get into that, let's make sure everybody understands, and I'll let either one of you take this question. When we're talking about AI-created child sexual abuse material, we're talking about images. What is the nature of these images?
Well, because Sergeant is the expert here, but before I turn it back over to him, because he'll clarify it specifically, I do want to mention, going back to that Ethan Fagan case, what really made this stand out, and it wasn't discovered until after his arrest, that some of the images that he was using and altering turned out to be people from the actual community of Clark County. That was startling. Dan Turner, the Clark County prosecutor, who did a great job handling this case, brought that to light. But I think, Sergeant, you've experienced this maybe even in other cases where there's a big difference between an AI-generated image that is fake versus one that is real.
Yes, that's correct. So probably around 5 years ago, we had a few cases that were coming across the state that were artificial intelligence. So they weren't that great. I mean, you could see that they were computer generated, which kind of fit the statute, but they were kind of, you could kind of discern a little bit. Some of it was hard to tell, but it was, you knew something wasn't right about the picture. On the ones here recently within the last 2 years, they're extremely hard to tell what's going on. On this particular case, you had pictures that we located that were of these children that were unclothed, and then we later determined these pictures were just taken off of social media. So they just basically stripped the pictures from social media, sent them up to a actual program on the internet, and then downloaded these pictures where these people were unclothed.
And they download the pictures, and this came up in your reporting, Kevin. Then they share the pictures.
Yeah, that's the frightening thing about it. And again, I had an opportunity to talk with one of the victims in this particular case, who was an adult, and she had no idea that this was happening. And it turned out that Ethan Fagan was a lifetime friend of hers. I mean, they grew up together in the same city, and she had no idea this was going on. She had no idea that these images were out there of her. And what I think scared her the most, besides experiencing anger and frustration and everything under the sun that you can imagine, is knowing that the odds of having that one image or several images, whether it was of her or some of the other victims in Clark County, of having those images permanently deleted, the odds of that happening, and Sergeant, you can address this, are not that high. It's very difficult to delete these images once they are out there.
Yes, once they hit the internet and start hitting forums, which he was trading the pictures back and forth in different forums. You may be talking to someone that's over in England or right here in the United States or down in Mexico, anywhere else. Once those pictures hit over there, there's no control of them. So all of these victims that we had on this case, and of course, we're still actually trying to identify a few of them. But the ones that we did have in that community, we have to get their information, contact information, and send that information to NetMec so those pictures are tracked. So if they get found out in the wild, a year from now, 5 years from now, somebody finds this picture whenever they're making an arrest and it tracks back to our task force, will get notified about it.
You said NetMec?
Yes. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Thank you.
Yes, so we send those pictures up to them so they have a record of them. And, there's been several cases here in Arkansas that we have received information back that those pictures were, found on somebody's device overseas.
If I may, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's say, if an image is uploaded and NCMEC gets a hit on it and they flag it and that's deleted, but somebody else received that image before it was flagged and just makes a slight alteration, it's not going to get a hit on that. Is that correct?
Yes, and based on your normal hashing algorithms, basically if you think about a hash as a digital fingerprint of a file, if you take the normal conventional hashing algorithms, if you change one bit, if you just put just one bit of information is changed, that whole algorithm changes. However, luckily we use technology called PhotoDNA that was actually developed by Microsoft, and it's used across child sex abuse material. So we utilize that, and it takes a picture that's similar to that and gives us a hit that more than likely this is going to be child sex abuse material. Now, of course, all that materials, we have to go in and look at to verify that. But, the accuracy of it is very high.
Wow.
So just to be clear, if all software is ultimately a series of zeros and ones,
yes,
and of course they've come out with thousands of automated tools now to prevent that, But what you just outlined is a process where you can change one of those zeros to a one of those ones to a zero, either way, and that's a different file. The computer does not recognize that as the file it was previously.
That's correct. A lot of people think that a file changes by if we rename a file.
Yeah.
Well, that fingerprint's the exact same for that file. It's just whenever one of those bits gets turned on or off, that's whenever you have the change.
And that's where you're having to use specialty software. Now, you said something a few minutes ago that I wanted to touch on, because apparently you're getting a lot of images in. And, what was the number you gave? It was 8,600 when Kevin did the story. And what's the number now?
So we have 9,800
Holy cow.
cyber tips, and that's not even including the images. So I was contacted by one of the federal agencies before we got on the podcast, and they were actually needing some files. They couldn't get it downloaded. It was from Twitter. There was 135 compressed zip files on that, so we don't even know how many actual files are in there.
Files are in the files
that are inside of the files, but a pretty good number. I mean, we see a lot of them come across.
A zip file being a way of storing multiple files in one thing, without turning this into tech chat. But you said something about you'll get these things in, these different tips, and you prioritize them. What creates a higher priority?
Of course, if we start seeing files that we've normally seen in the past, and there's just a couple of them, we still flag those and go after them. But if we start seeing content, for instance, if a provider gives us a file and it's got a file date in the actual file name description that's within the last couple of days, and it looks or appears that it's homemade, or it has information metadata that leads us to believe that it was homemade produced, of course, we try to step into those really quick.
Sure.
Because we have, potentially a child that's being abused.
And you have, your division has how many investigators?
So for us right now, for full-time, we have actually 4 investigators that are full-time, and then we have part-time investigators. Now, for the actual task force as a whole, we have affiliate agencies with a lot of your agencies that are across Arkansas. There's 40 of them. But as a whole, full-time, there's only probably about 20 to 25 people that may work this, what you call full-time. The rest of them are part-time at best. They're having to, handle different caseloads with homicides and thefts, everything else. So they work it whenever they can.
Well, it also strikes me, so you have these investigators and they're working on, at times, what has to be just horrific images and just offensive to common sense.
Yeah.
And you can't just turn that off. I mean, you have to walk away from that and catch your breath from time to time, don't you?
Oh, yeah. And of course, so the burnout rate for ICAC investigators is usually about 2 to 3 years, to tell you the truth.
Really?
Yes. So once you get them in, within 2 to 3 years, we're cycling back through, and they're going to some other area. I've been working stuff for 13 years.
My goodness.
You have to find a mechanism to be able to let that go and move away. Now, in the last couple of years, it's funny that we're talking about artificial intelligence, because that's what we're using now to be able to identify some of these files for wellness purposes for investigators.
Now, with that said, I'd like to talk about that, but first we need to go talk to our sponsors, or hear from our sponsors, I should say. So if you'll excuse me, we're going to take a break real quick. And this is Make It Make Sense. I'm Alex Kienlen. We'll be right back. And we're back. This is Make It Make Sense. I'm Alex Kienlen. I'm here with Fox 16 anchor Kevin Kelly, and I'm here with Sergeant Corwin Battle of the State Police, and we were talking about the use of AI and child sexual abuse material, and this was centered on a report that Kevin did about a month ago now on a gentleman in Amity, Arkansas, Ethan Fagan, who's now doing 99 years.
Yep.
Because he used AI to take pictures of people and turn them into, I'll say, X-rated pictures.
That's a fair statement.
So, and the sergeant here was just telling us as we went on break, we were talking about, well, the burnout rate for investigators, unfortunately, and understandably, but unfortunately. But you were saying you're using AI in your own investigations now?
Yes. So we use artificial intelligence with our tools to try to determine, items that are for like nudity, or if we think that there's a child involved, and it flags that. So it puts it over into like a little container where we can go and look at just those. Or it helps us, get rid of files that we don't necessarily need, so we can make these investigations go quicker. We use it for all kinds of different purposes. Like if we're looking at chat logs, we try to get it to pick out certain criteria to see if there's somebody that's trying to exploit a child, if we have that, filter turned on. So there is some good with artificial intelligence that we're using to catch some of these bad guys that are using that.
Didn't you also use some type of artificial intelligence software that immediately and NCMEC might have started this to alert you about Ethan Fagan, and then whatever software was used flagged him being in the state of Arkansas, and then whatever you were notified with or ASP was notified with, it immediately went through all the social media pages. Ethan Fagan's face pops up on someone's Facebook page, and that's how you were able to identify him.
Yes, that's correct. So we used artificial intelligence to try to track him down, because we were able to get a search warrant on the actual contents of that account that he had. And whenever we got the search warrant, we were able to see that there was multiple pictures of the same guy that we didn't know who he was. So whenever we sent that picture up, it alerts us, hey, here goes a picture of your guy. Here's the Facebook page. And then whenever we see that he's tagged onto that, we go to his page, and then we see 2 or 3 of our victims on the actual page.
Wow. By the way, Kevin's story had footage of him being arrested, of Fagan being arrested.
Yes.
And there was something I noticed about that just struck me, in that he seemed almost resigned to what was going on. He just, okay.
A little bit. Yeah. There was definitely something going on, because once the warrant had been issued, ASP and I believe one of your colleagues, Sergeant Battles, was actually there for the arrest. But just based on the dash cam video that we were able to get, thanks to ASP, you could just see him. I don't know. Maybe there was a sense of relief underneath it all, because he did not seem alarmed. He didn't question anyone as to why am I being placed under arrest. You see him in the back of the patrol car, and the only thing he's worried about is his girlfriend, and that the handcuffs were too tight because his hands were going numb. And that was it. So, I don't want to speak for him, but you could maybe sense like, okay, this has come to an end.
Yeah.
Just based on his on his demeanor.
Yeah, and a lot of them are like that. They're, whenever we basically tell them, hey, we're here, they'll complete while we're there, and you can tell they're defeated.
Yeah,
they know they say we knew you were coming. Most of them say, we knew you were coming eventually.
And I will say, because I found this interesting too. He had been arrested, taken to jail, and he was working for some company that I can't remember the name, and it's really not that important. But I guess a few days or maybe weeks later, you receive a call from one of the employers saying, hey, I found this flash drive in the car.
Yes, and it was inside of a knife sheath that he had. So they were cleaning out his truck, and they were looking at this knife. It's a pretty nice knife, and this flash drive pops out. So they call us and say, hey, we've got a flash drive. We want you to come pick this up. So we go and pick the flash drive up, get a search warrant for it, and, of course, some of the same images and, videos are on it.
Wow.
Now, with that said, you said this sort of resignation that so many of your suspects have, your arrestees have, I'll call them. And because I noticed when these different search warrants are executed, they'll find a mass of electronic drives, massive flash drives, and other cell phones, computer hard drives, spare computer hard drives, backup computer hard drives, and on and on and on.
Yes.
Are these same people fairly forward about, that's all my stuff there, you'll probably want all that, or do you have to work that out?
Most of the time, either they're going to lawyer you up pretty quick, or they're going to talk to us. And usually we talk to them directly on scene. We'll talk to them and ask them, hey, this is why we're here. This is some bad stuff, that's coming from your residence, and we need to know where to get it at. And a lot of times they'll tell us, or we'll find it. We'll just have to take extra time to find it. But a lot of them are collectors. They have a lot of it, over years and years of time.
Sergeant, are they doing this? Are they doing this to try and make a big profit? What are they doing with these images other than just putting them on the dark web or sharing them with other individuals? Are they getting paid for this?
So over the years, very few of them actually get paid. A lot of them get it to trade new content, is what we're seeing now. But previously, they would just collect it just to say they had it.
Really?
Yes, and you would see that they would have multiples or file series that they liked on multiple devices.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm actually not. I'm sad that I know this, but it turns out that pornography has this factor that whatever you see, and I know it's an error to call this pornography. This is abuse material, but you'll see it, and it only works for so long for the person that owns it, and then he needs some new material to stimulate themselves again.
And we try to tell people all the time, this starts off at this point, but when is it not enough that they're going to go out to the park or go to a school and do something like that? A lot of parents are worried about, their kid getting trafficked. The problem's not getting trafficked. It's one of these guys online contacting them and trying to con them into doing that. That's the new guy in the van with the piece of candy, basically.
Right.
And you've seen that.
Yes, we see it all the time.
Oh, yeah, because we reference it like a cliche, guy in a van with candy, but that's exactly the way. And I guess they just slip into that reality that they've created, and then they just, enlarge it within. And I don't want to, again, I don't want to get too into the psychology of this, but you did say something important right now, and before we run out of time, I want to go over it. So a parent's watching this right now. They don't want a picture of their child misused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't want their child approached by somebody intent on misusing or assaulting them. What do you tell that parent?
So, in reference to the AI, it's hard. It's so fluid right now that I mean, it's just things change by the minute on it, basically. Mm-hmm. But just go back to your basic parenting skills. Have conversation with your kids. That's age appropriate, but make sure they understand that there is danger on the internet. If they see something that's on the internet, let you know. If something pops up on there, you may see something bad, bring your phone to me. Somebody's talking to you don't know, bring it to me. Also, parents, use your parental controls. We see so many devices where the parents don't have parental controls up, and that could have blocked a lot of problems with people, messaging them and doing bad things.
I would add also, as a parent myself, fortunately my kids are grown now, but to the parents out there, as long as you're paying for that bill, that phone's yours. Do a deep dive on that phone. Know all the passwords. Know all the apps that are out there, and there are so many apps. And when I say do a deep dive, you got to know how to work these apps and how to do the go-arounds, if you will. And Sergeant, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have questions about your child's phone, your local police departments, the sheriff's department, even state police will help you navigate your child's phone so you can get just past the password, if you will, to take a deeper dive because it's scary. It is frightening to know what's out there lurking on our cell phones and on our desktop computers. And if your kids are on there, I'm telling you, you got to know every single keystroke. And there are programs out there that will monitor that as well. So maybe that's something to keep in mind because it's scary out there.
I had a computer security expert on here not too long ago. And in fact, I'll link this as well as Kevin's story when we post this. But he was talking about oversharing on social media. And he was spending a lot more time making sure everybody shares less on social media. But this especially related to this topic, this means children as well.
Absolutely.
They don't need to know when you're in school. They don't need to know when you get out of school. They don't need to know what route you walk home.
Right. Yeah.
And what your favorite foods are.
Basic is even if you got a new car. There's no reason for them. Your close friends can know what your car is, your neighbors, because they see you. There's no reason to put that on because, I mean, if you think about it, one of these guys see your kids and they want to target them, all they've got to do is get some basic information and they know your routes and start determining certain things about you really quick.
Well, and that was a point you made, that we probably have more information out there about us than we realize.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you ever do a Google search on your name, you'll be amazed what people know about you.
Right. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. But, well, with that said, where do you see this going, Sergeant? What do you see us doing about this? I'll call it a problem. People using AI to make bad images. What can we do to get in front of this?
So right now, at the last commanders meeting we had, there's a group of law enforcement that were headed over to Interpol, and they're working on some tools to be able to find out kind of to identify if these items that are coming across are AI and some information metadata about that, where they're derived from, that will help us do our investigations. Right now, if we try to use some of our tools that we have and somebody's generating a picture and we don't know that's a person, we're going to have to waste NetMix time and say, hey, we've got an unidentified child here that we don't know. And then later on we find out it's not real. So that's a whole nother problem.
And it strikes me to one of the points we made earlier in this conversation, Kevin, that this would be, if we had an international wide-ranging tool, then copies that are out there in the wild would be easier to track down.
Yeah, I don't have a clue how to tackle this. I'm going to have to defer to the experts on that one because it's just, I mean, you look at these numbers, and if you trust the stats that are out there and what's behind it, I mean, obviously it's growing in the wrong direction, and it doesn't look like it's going to come down anytime soon. So, I mean, all of us, have to be proactive and stay on top of this. And outside of deleting all of your social media and not posting any pictures, I don't know what else to do outside of, just maybe narrowing it down to your Facebook page because you want to share pictures privately with grandma and grandpa. Outside of that, I don't know what the solution is to try and bring these numbers back down.
Well, and with that, gentlemen, I thank you for coming by today. It sounds like we have enough to talk about that we can come back and do another show.
Right.
So expect further invitations, Sergeant and Kevin, and thank you for your reporting on this.
Hey, I couldn't have done it without State Police. They were fantastic in this. I mean, because this is a sensitive topic, and sometimes you don't want to reveal all of your cards. And I know State Police did not do that,
sure,
because I wouldn't either. But when I reached out to State Police, they recognized how significant of a problem this is and the direction it's going. And I mean, my job is to try and educate the public. And State Police recognized that, and they were on board, and I couldn't have done it without them. So I applaud you, Sergeant Battles, and the rest of your team for bringing this very important story to light.
Yeah, we appreciate you covering it.
Well, thank you very much. And this is Alex Kienlen on Make It Make Sense. We'll talk soon. Bye now.